Framber Valdez was scratched from the start. Oh my gosh, it's a bullpen day. But you know what? Sean Dubin was on the mound in his first major league start. Did excellent. Saved the bullpen. Went 4 innings. But the Astros offense backed him up, and they lead the series. Can get a win on Monday, a series win, and wrap it up before they come home to Houston. Let's check it out on tonight's Locked On Astros.
Alvarez hits a high drive center field. Veer leans back. This game is turned upside down. There's the runner. Fly ball down the right field line. Tucker comes on. Kyle Tucker. This time they finish the job.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on Twitter at Eric Talk Stros. Find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Brett, where can you find you at?
They can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. They can find me at Stros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive, always Stros.
Today's episode is brought to you by Ibotta. Ibotta gives you cash back on hundreds of grocery items from produce to personal care to pantry goods. So you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta by downloading the free Ibotta app and using the code MLB. And guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Whether it's on YouTube, go and subscribe to us. Go and give us a big fat thumbs up and go and subscribe to us and go and make us your daily listen. Go and become a everydayer, somebody that listens to the podcast every day and goes on the roller coaster ride that is being an Astros fan. Go and join the journey on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Go and check out the Locked On Astros podcast. So this has been a very up and down series. The Astros have had two come from behind victories, and then they had a very demoralizing defeat on Saturday's game. We'll go and talk about that. Then you had the whole Valdez is being skipped and the sky's falling, but he did did get rewarded for something. We'll talk about that. A lot of people were Chas chomping in Arlington for some reason. We'll talk about that. And Astros, who's going to the All-Star game, and we'll go and make an attempt on fixing Christian Javier. So this series so far has been great, right, Brett?
It has. No, I mean, look, Nathan Eovaldi is the only, bleak moment of this series. He went out and absolutely dealt the Astros a tough hand. They just could not counter what he threw at him. But look, he's doing that. I think he's their best pitcher on that pitching staff. And what was interesting coming into this weekend is we knew that Aroldis Chapman had been signed by the Rangers. And we saw him today. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I was really hoping he'd face Altuve, and, I was pleased with the outcome. But look, this game today, everybody was concerned. A bullpen game, Sean Dubin. He's got high strikeout stuff, high velocity stuff, but he's still young. He's a rookie. He is 26. And with Framber, your ace going down, one of your stalwart veterans going down, yet another pitcher injury, you had to think if this thing goes sideways, they're going to pull him in the second inning. They did bring up Mashinsky, but they would have decimated the bullpen today had they had to use him. And so the Houston Astros go up 2-1 on the series, Eric, simply because the bats came alive when they needed to. Two come from behind victories. And for Dubin to hold this offense to one run, Eric, this is the highest scoring offense right now in baseball. They're doing better than the Rays. And again, they're playing 500 ball. They're actually 4-6 in their last 10 games, I believe. And so they're kind of coming down to earth, and it was a great win, a great team win for the Houston Astros today.
I saw somebody earlier. I'm trying to find it, but why did Ronel Blanco get sent down? It was more of an issue of you needed a fresh arm in the bullpen because you had Hunter Brown. We'll talk about his outing a little bit later, but he only pitched 4 innings. You're going to have Sean Dubin start. They expected, and I think Dusty Baker said after a game, he was only expecting 3 innings from Dubin. Dubin was able to give him 4 innings. So they knew that they needed some fresh arms, and they know that they're going to have to probably call up Brandon Bielak. Brandon Bielak was scratched in his last start, which I think was supposed to be last night. So he's likely going to be calling up at some point. You couldn't call him up for this game because his I think he had to stay until Sunday because of the rules. When you were sent down, he had to stay through Sunday. So I think we're going to see Brandon Bielak make the next start. But the Astros just were at a situation where they needed some fresh arms. They needed somebody in the bullpen. And Parker Maszynski was that guy. He did a great job for his credit. And I know he doesn't have a lot of success with the Houston Astros so far this year. I mean, he has a 4.15 ERA this year, but it's a very small sample size. But I think what you're seeing right now is the Astros kind of just playing it safe with Framber Valdez. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But this game overall, Sean Dubin just he didn't. I think the Rangers probably could have done a little bit more with him. He had the 2 walks, the 3 hits, but he really kept them at bay, and he just looked like he belonged a little bit. So I give all my respect to him and the rest of the pitching staff. Brian Abreu made a little bit scary at the end. We heard about Nathaniel Lowe, like having batting practice, the only Ranger before the game that had batting practice, and he had extending batting practice, and he was working on stuff. Then the full hit a home run, almost get the game close at the end. But the bullpen, they held the line, and that's what you want them to do, especially if you have a starter only go 4 innings.
Yeah, exactly. Look, Sean Dubin fully said he expected to go as long as they needed him because he's been starting all year in Sugarland. So him going at length, it's not like, because Rome asked him, I believe it was from yesterday. I guess it was after the game. They were talking they were in the locker room, and he said, are you stretched out enough? And he goes, yeah, I've been starting all year in Sugarland. So I'm perfectly fine with that. And for this team to go out there, I believe you said Lowe took the extended batting practice. I think he's been in kind of a slump. So he's been out there working, kind of doing the Jose Abreu, like I got to get my bat going. And man, Abreu continues to, contribute, continues to do really well. But you had mentioned Ronel Blanco earlier, because when I first saw the move, I wasn't thinking of all the implications of why he would go down, right? My first thought was, he's doing great. Why would we send him down? And like you said, you had to have that fresh arm. It's all about right now juggling the arms. And tomorrow, I believe, is the 15th day that Bielak's been down. So he'll be eligible to be called up if they need him this week. And they'll be coming back home. So they're right there next to Sugarland. So I think it works out perfectly. Look, that's why they get paid the big bucks and we don't, right? I just, whenever I see moves, I'm like, what's going on here, But look, something that a lot of people aren't talking about, well, at least on social media, I saw maybe 2 people mention it. Maldonado called a great game with Sean Dubin. And what do people constantly say in their criticism about Maldonado? We know his bat's being criticized a lot. But they're like, oh, he doesn't call any better. He can call a good game from the bench. He doesn't do any better than Diaz would. But he called a phenomenal game. So all the people that give him the credit for them not doing well when he catches, I haven't heard anybody give him credit except for maybe 1 or 2 people saying something. And I'm like, yeah, like, let's give the guy some credit. And then when you mention Diaz, who's really swinging out of the zone, chasing the ball terribly today, everybody brings up Maldonado. I'm like, well, but right now they're different positions.
Right. This
is a cohesive team. This is a team that has it together. This is a team that is together. And it was great to see Dubin do what he did, the bullpen, like you mentioned. And at the end, what better person to extend the lead and give an insurance run than someone like Jose Altuve, and to do it to hit the foul pole. My first question was, are we getting free Chick-fil-A? Oh, that's our promo, not theirs.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that works in Arlington. So definitely something we can address. Next segment is Valdez. When will he pitch again? Is it something serious? And definitely something we'll go ahead and go further detail about the Chas Chomp. Like why was a lot of people in Arlington doing Chas Chomp? So we'll definitely talk about that. But I think a lot of people have been pointing out that Maldonado has been suffering a little bit defensively too, and the bat's not there. But you can't take away what he does call a great game, but he's got to also make those plays behind the plate, and that's something that he's been lacking a little bit recently. But this episode is brought to you by Ibotta.
That's right. Picking up burgers and hot dogs for a summer barbecue. You know you're already doing it, so why not get cash back when you do it with Ibotta? Ibotta gives you cash back on hundreds of grocery items, from produce to personal care to pantry goods, so you can make sure you're beating inflation. No matter what you're purchasing, either link your loyalty account or upload your receipt after you shop and get cash back. It's that easy. The average person earns about $120 a year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip. Or you could use it to put cash back in your wallet and so many other things. You can get cash back on hundreds of things online, retailers too, when you start with Ibotta, including Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and more. So right now, Ibotta's offer for our listeners, get $5 just for trying Ibotta by using the code MLB when you register. All you got to do is go to your app store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app and use the code MLB. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play Store or App Store, and use the code MLB today. And make sure that you check the Astros action, the final game of the series. They take on the Rangers in Arlington, 1:05 p.m. Central Standard Time. Catch every pitch of the Astros hometown broadcast with SiriusXM and the SXM app. Search Astros. And the Rangers need to thank the Astros, because I think because of the Astros fans showing up in mass, they got sellouts this weekend. How are y'all not selling out your ball club? Y'all are in first place. You know what's going to happen? You're going to be in second or third place before you realize, oh, we should have sold it out before that. So you're welcome, Rangers. Top of the morning to you.
Yeah, and it was pointed out to me while I was in San Antonio that how is that their sellout? I mean, what about their opening day when they first opened the ballpark? And what about opening day this year with all the excitement of this mega team they built? And like, what is up with that, Rangers fans? So you've got a great team. Go out there and support them. You're leading. Your pitchers are pitching out of their mind. I mean, look at all their starters, ERAs that are having career years. Just go out there and support your team. But props to all the Astros fans that go out there. And there's big Astros Twitter groups, Astros Facebook groups that went out there. And props to y'all, because Dusty Baker said that when they went to St. Louis, there was probably 90% red and about 10% orange. When in Arlington, it was about 60% blue or whatever colors they claimed it to be. And it was mostly 40% orange out there. So y'all went out and represented. And a lot of people wanted to see Framber Valdez start in this series. But unfortunately, the Astros decided to skip the start. He apparently during the Mets series slipped off in the stairs in the dugout and sprained his ankle. It's nothing that the team or Framber himself is worried about. But Dana Brown said in the pregame show that they're probably going to push his start back to either Thursday or Friday. If it's pushed back to Thursday, he is still lined up to possibly start in a certain thing. We'll talk about that in a second. Well, but even if it's on Friday, he can technically start in that game as well. So we'll definitely talk about that soon. But the Astros are just being cautious at this point. They rather, and Dusty Baker said, they rather have him miss one start here and have it skipped versus him having any lasting repercussions down the road.
Yeah, you know, and we'll get to that obviously later, where he's going or where he could possibly start. I think everybody can read the tea leaves here if you're watching. But look, with the sellout crowd, with the Astros fans in mass, it was the 20th or 25th, I think it's 20th birthday of their mascot, some horse they have. I don't know what he's called, Mr. Ed or something.
Yeah.
And they did this really lame skit. Yeah, they did this lame skit where like him and a bunch of other mascots like took a piñata that looked like Orbit and they like beat it up. And I was like, wow, that's pretty tasteless, you know, for a fan base that's hurting right now, that's not in first place. And I just added the Rangers and asked them, if perchance there was a hurricane and we had to relocate, would y'all be willing to host us? And I was like, oh, that's right. Y'all rejected us that time. So look, I have no love for the DFW area teams, Arlington Rangers, the Dallas Cowgirls, or anybody like that on this show, and I never will. But I thought that was hilarious that we're living rent-free in their heads. The Chas Chomp, of course it's going to show up, bro.
Right.
Like Chas McCormick, every time he does something, people are like, he should be starting every day. He should be starting every day. Now Chandler Rome's like, he should be starting every day.
McTaggart too.
Everybody, Brian McTaggart, Michael Schwab, we're saying it. Everybody's saying it. Look, that ball, Eric, was maybe a half a foot from going over the fence. And he's now 6 for 11, dude, with bases loaded, but he doesn't have a home run. But he's 6 for 11. That is clutch. That is clutch. And so you love to see him in there, Eric. And because Andrew Heaney hasn't had Rangers captain is a horse. Thank you, Mr. Ed.
The fabulous Mr. Ed. Young people won't know what we're talking about at all.
No, that's right. But see, okay, well, you kind of threw me off there. So Chas McCormick gets up there, contributes. He shows his opposite field power. And not only that, Eric, he made an amazing grab, a diving catch out in center field. And look, Chas McCormick is playing the part, but this is my fear. He's playing so well. He's hitting so well.
All right. I read between the lines.
Okay. That means he's going to be very desirable in a trade. And if the Astros are dead set on trading someone, if I'm a team asking for Myers, Jolts, or McCormick, I'm taking McCormick 10 times out of 10. And I think it ups his value. And it's just one of those things that a lot of people think is inevitable. I hope it's not. But that is something that I'm a little concerned about. Don't get too used to Chas being here because his time might be short-lived because he is kind of a valuable trade piece, I think, at this moment.
Yeah, and I think Chas has been working on his hitting with the hitting coaches because he's been trying to hit the ball to right field. And we saw that, and I think I was looking at it earlier. His triple would have been a homer in 15 out of 30 ballparks. It's just not that ballpark right there. It had expected batting average of 570, and it had a exit velocity of 100 on the dot, and hit distance of 348. So it was pretty good, but Altuve's was pretty good too. It would have been a home run in 19 out of 30 ballparks, 104.2 miles per hour off the bat, and expected batting average of 870.
Oh. Eric ran out of breath. He was you got so verklempt from talking about Jose Altuve's home run.
Yeah.
You're like 870.
870. Yeah. Yeah. So,
all right, man.
Yeah. But going back to Jose Altuve, Aroldis Chapman is now a member of the Rangers. And so now apparently Dusty Baker made a huge pitch to bring him to Houston in the offseason. And so there's some comments. And he says, I wish I had him. He said that he tried to get him to come to the Astros during the offseason. And basically, this is what Aroldis Chapman said. I love him as a father. And basically, that's what he said of Dusty Baker. So I think he maybe was talking about Dusty Baker, or maybe he was talking about Jose Altuve. I'm not sure.
Probably talking about his dad, Jose Altuve. I don't know why King Griffey Jr. played with his dad, Ken Sr.
Right.
You know, I don't know how many father-son combos have played together in Major League Baseball, but if Aroldis Chapman would have come to the Astros, it would have been father and son on the same team.
Right.
Then they could, hey, let's take BP and see if you can hit my slider. And guess what? He threw a slider today. He's like, Dad, can you hit the slider? He goes, actually, I can, but I'm only going to hit a single because I don't want to, you're going to break Aroldis Chapman in his first couple outings if he goes out against the Astros and they just obliterate him. They didn't obliterate him, but they knocked him out of the game for sure. And so that was nice to see. So it was a great father-son moment. It was almost like Father's Day 2.0 for the Houston Astros. I mean, we're the Rangers' daddy too. So, it's just really nice that this is what's great, Eric, is everything's coming into focus. And despite the injuries, despite all these things going on, we are on the precipice of guys like Brantley and, Alvarez coming back. Alvarez is hitting at about 60% right now. He's taking swings in the cage. Brantley and Alvarez were both sprinting around the bases this weekend. So they're getting close. They're not going to rush them back. But when this lineup is tanked, I mean, full of healthy players, when our pitchers, when our guys like Urquidy come back, veterans, it is going to be massive. And the league has been put on warning because we got some damage to do.
And Brett, we got some reports on some injured players running around bases. And then we also, that's great. And so we also got some all-star announcements that we got to talk about. So we'll talk about that after this episode is sponsored by Hooters.
That's right. Hooters makes you happy. If you have a buddy or a friend or two you want to hang out at Hooters, I want you to go to Sugarland, Pearland, Humble, Katy, Galveston, Stafford, Baytown, wherever you are in Houston, go find your local Hooters. Let me tell you about this Friday, July 7th, live Locked On Astros podcast. We are giving away 2 sets of tickets, one to a future Rangers series, one to a future Rays series, I believe. 2 pairs of seats, both in Crawford box sections, 4 p.m. this Friday. Come hang out with us. Gentle Ben's Distillery is going to be there for a vodka sampling for their own local distillery. They'll be there. Frozen t-shirt contest. They'll be giving away food, giving away wings, all kinds of stuff. You'll have to come check us out. It is definitely a fun place. And every week they have happy hour from 2 to 7 every day, and then 10 to close. They have happy hour. They have specials all throughout the week. You can check out their $3 Blue Moon drafts or $9.99 Michelob Ultra pitchers. No matter what the occasion, Hooters is ready to make you happy. So come out and hang out with us at our live event. You'll win some tickets, and hey, Hooters makes you happy. And then the Rangers play the Astros. Unfortunately for them, on Monday at 1:05 Central Standard Time, catch every pitch of the Astros hometown broadcast with SiriusXM and the S6M app. Search Astros.
This episode is brought to you by a cocky Brett. All of a sudden, he's like, yeah, let's go get them Rangers. Let's go wrangle them Rangers. Let's go beat up Captain Ranger, because that's the horse's name, apparently. So
Captain Ranger?
Yeah.
They could come up with a better name. Like, why don't they name him like Nolan or something cool? Like,
I think it was
Charlie
Captain Ranger.
Huff.
I put it down there. Or Ranger Captain or what? That's just.
I hope it's not Ranger Captain, because that makes no sense.
Captain Ranger. It's Ranger's Captain is the name of the horse. So it's. I think they should have gone Mr. Ed. I think that would have been perfect. The fabulous.
That's why I said Mr. Ed. I don't know what his name is.
So
how about, let's just call him Doofus. How's that? Yeah. He's a doofus.
So Chas McCormick is batting through 175 plate appearances, 258, 339, 458. That is a player that should be starting every day. And we know that Dusty Baker wants to get all the fellas into the lineup. That means Corey Jolks and Mauricio Dubin sometimes in the outfield, but also Jake Myers. And I know a lot of people are talking about the trade deadline down here. And with Aroldis Chapman basically being the first person to a really big note to be traded, that means the Astros are eventually going to have to answer, because now they are 4 games behind the Rangers. And depending on what happens tomorrow, they could be 3 games behind the Rangers. So the Astros could have gone from this series being 9 games down. So for them to be where they are, this is a very great position. So the Astros have got to be aggressive at the trade deadline, and they know what their weaknesses are. They know where they need to fix. And we were talking about Yainer Diaz earlier. The problem is when you start playing a young rookie like this, the league is going to start figuring out how to expose them. We saw that with Jeremy Pena. Jeremy Pena was able to make that adjustment last year. So now it's up to Yainer Diaz to make that adjustment. He still is getting some great hits every once in a while, but he had 3 strikeouts today. And so,
and they were bad strikeouts. I mean, those balls weren't even close to the zone. And what I'm wondering is, was he not seeing the ball well? Because his swings did not. He had been putting the bat on the ball. And look, I'm not one of these that, like, I literally think there are some fans that they genuinely want certain players to do bad. And I think if that's, look, I'm not going to tell you how to fan, but I think if you like genuinely want someone to be bad at their job, like, that's not being a good fan. Like take care of your players. Like I want Diaz to be successful, but those at bats were not competitive at all. And he's got to make. I mean, he was taking video game swings. He was swinging at everything under the sun. But to me, again, it looked like he maybe wasn't seeing the ball well. So he's young. Didn't have a lot of MLB time under his belt. He'll figure it out.
Yeah, definitely. And so let's go ahead and talk about the Astros. No, it's not the Atlanta Braves, who have 8 players going to the All-Star game, including their entire infield. So
Wow.
that shows how good the Braves team is this year. But the Astros have just had a lot of players that have missed some time. You had Jose Altuve. If he didn't miss all those games, I think he's only played 31 games this season. He probably would have been an All-Star this year. But for this year, the Astros have 2 representatives in the All-Star game and a manager. And the manager is a pretty big moment, because that means that the Astros won the World Series.
That's right.
But you also got to look at the fact that the 2 guys that were selected are technically injured right now. So Yordan Alvarez was selected as an outfielder, and also Framber Valdez was selected as a starting pitcher, or pitcher just in general. So now the question is, he's expected to pitch maybe on Thursday or Friday. If he pitches on Thursday, he has a chance to start in the All-Star game. B, if he does pitch on Friday, he still has a chance to pitch an inning on short rest. And C, does Dusty Baker, with the whole sprained ankle and everything that's on the line and how much the Astros did not let him pitch in the World Baseball Classic, would they even do that? So would he even do that? And D, does it send a lot of questions here?
Good Lord. I know it's like a 4-point multiple choice question. Holy crap.
D, does it send a bad message if you have the player that has the lowest ERA among the qualified starters and the third most innings of all the starters that could be going to the All-Star game, and you don't have him starting because of health concerns?
I mean, I don't know that it's a concern either way. I think if Framber feels good enough to start and he's healthy, yeah, I mean, he's only going to pitch 1, maybe 2 innings tops. He's not going to go like 3 innings. He's not trying to break some all-star record. Let him pitch an inning. If his ankle's fine, if he's not 100%, hell no. No, he doesn't touch the mound. Who cares? No, there are plenty of other pitchers in the AL that would qualify for that spot. I mean, I'm sorry, Nathan Eovaldi, 10-3. I mean, he would be a candidate, I would think. And I know people don't like me mentioning, good things about Rangers players, but heck, that dude's earned it. I mean, I would much rather, and the Astros aren't going to let him start. If he's not 100%, that's just not going to happen. I don't care what Dusty wants. The training staff's not going to let it happen. So our players' health is first and foremost. Really sucks that Yordan wasn't top 3, but it's inconsequential because he's injured right now. Anyways, he's on the IL. But look, I miss the days of 7 All-Stars going. I miss the days of the whole team being Astros. But I think this is one of those years where I kind of saw the writing on the wall, especially with the injuries and with our slow start. I think the guys that got voted in, I like the list on both sides. I voted for a lot of the guys that made the team. I didn't vote for a lot of the Rangers, but for the Braves, I did vote for several of them. So good for them. And I just wonder, should we put Dubin in the home run derby? No, I'm joking.
No, I think Martin Maldonado should be in the home run derby.
hey, when Martin barrels the ball,
he would actually be pretty good at that.
He hits home runs in Seattle.
Yeah. So definitely the last thing we're going to go ahead and talk about here is, before we do that, is Alvarez took batting practice in the batting cage today for the first time since injuring his oblique. He swung at 60% intensity. I don't know what 60% is. I guess that's just
that just means he's in there. That just means he's in there taking cuts. He's not full on swinging. I mean, he's not taking full speed pitches. He's not putting everything into it.
Right.
Because you don't want to aggravate something that's still healing if you feel like it's healing. And if he's not hitting 100%, that's what that is.
I know. I was going to make a video game joke, but you ruined it. So Alvarez and Brantley are both sprinting around the bases, so that's a good sign there. So we'll see what happens and when they get back. And you asked the other day who comes back first. I really don't know. I still may think that Alvarez comes back just because I think they're going to slow play Brantley, but we'll see. So one thing that we need to look at for today's game, I know we don't have a lot of time, is Christian Javier. And he's slated to start. And I know that people have said he's in a rut right now. He's scuffling a little bit. That's what Dusty Baker said. And a lot of it may have to do with he's not fatigued. He's not injured or anything. The Astros have identified that, and maybe his release point is a little bit higher than it was last year, which is causing his velocity to be down a little bit, his spin rate to be down a little bit, and the ball not to be at the same level it was last year. So basically, he's at I think it was like 5.7 feet this year. So he's releasing the ball here. But last year he was releasing the ball there. So it looks like it's going at a different angle. So that's why it's not really doing the invisible technique. And it says has less margin for error for sure. But our aim is get him back to that version of him. It's in there. We'll find it. So we'll have to see how he does against the Rangers lineup, because as we could see, they can get a lot of hits. In Saturday's game, they had 15 hits, but only scored 5 runs. That's crazy.
Yeah. Are you talking about the Rangers getting 10 hits and 5 runs?
No, 15 hits and 5 runs.
Oh, yeah. Well, because they were like all singles.
Yeah.
I mean, they singled the ball to death. They were like single. And I was like, oh my gosh, they don't have 20 runs. But yeah, look, that was, I mean, we only lost 5-0. I mean, they should have pummeled us in that game, and they didn't. So I like look. We're about to wrap up the first half of the season at home. I love that. The All-Star break. So many guys need rest. It is just definitely a much needed week of rest. And I just want to say something real quick. The hat that I'm wearing, I want to thank Big City Cap Zone and my friend Job. You can check them out on Instagram. You see this little special World Series. They're calling this the MVP. If you go to Big City Cap Zone on Instagram, check it out. They got this hat on sale at their stores, and I would send them a shout out. They sent me the hat. They said thanks for doing a great show. So I wanted y'all to know about a local shop. Go check them out.
All right. Don't forget to check out the Rangers Astros game Monday at 1:05 p.m. Central Standard Time. Everybody's going to be watching that game because this is a big series. You got to take out 3 of these. And Brett, Kyle Tucker did hit a 2-run homer in that game. So it was a 5-2 victory, not a 5-0 victory for the Rangers on Saturday. But overall.
Oh, you're right. At the end, you know what? Yeah. I literally forgot about the home run because I had kind of mentally checked out. You're right. Kyle Tucker did make a bid at the end. You are correct. My bad, Kyle Tucker.
Yeah. And so that's all we got for this edition of Locked On Astros podcast. Make sure you check us out on YouTube. Go and subscribe to us. Go and make us your daily listen. Become an everydayer on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you check out your podcast. Go and listen to the Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. Find me on Twitter, Eric Talkstros. You can find Brett at H-Town Wheelhouse. You can find the show at Locked On Astros. And as always, go Stros, and we'll see you tomorrow.
And swing. Maldonado's coming for you.